There now follows a disclaimer. Please understand that by following the guide in this video, that I won't be held accountable in any way, shape or form for anything that may go wrong with your quad. I have merely taken instructions that are the property of Oxdove on the phantompilots.com forum and turned them into this video guide. Whilst I have tried to be as accurate as I can and have tried my best to explain the procedure, please take the time to assess your technical skill level before following this guide. I wish to thank all those such as Oxdove, Gaucho, Andrew By and RM Home who wrote the original guide and produced the flash files that are used in this guide.
Thank you for joining me. This is Fly My Mavic and this is the updated repair guide for fixing the loss of vision on a Phantom 2 Vision Plus, the FPV system repair. I'm doing an updated video because I have new procedures and I'm going to go through it a little bit more detail because of the amount of questions that I've had. Okay, so obviously the first thing you're going to need to do is the module. You're going to need to remove the module from the quad itself, which we'll show you in the second part of the video. You will also need a 2mm hex type screwdriver, solder of course, a small Phillips screwdriver, razor blade. You'll need a soldering iron, a good quality one. I use the KSGER T12 soldering station and I have it set to 340 degrees C, which I find works best for me. You're also going to need one of these little boards. This is called an FT232RL. It is a 3.3 volt and 5.5 volt switchable mini USB port. It's called an FTDI USB to TTL serial adapter module. In my last video I kept calling it an Arduino and I got slammed in the comments for it, so I'm pointing out that this is an FT232RL, a USB to TTL serial adapter. And if I just go over to eBay, you will see they're available here on eBay UK for $2.99 each. May be available from other eBay sites, but it's very, very important you get one that has the 5 volt or 3 volt adaptable little jumper there. Now the software is available from my GitHub page, and that is github.com/judslat/p2vpflash. Don't worry, I will put a link to that down below. Once you're on this page, if you click the green button marked code and click on download zip, and then choose to save the file or whatever your browser does for it. Once it's downloaded, you want to open the folder that it's in. In this case, mine's in my downloads folder. If you double click on the RAR file and it will open up WinRAR, just double click on the yellow folder marked p2vpflash-master, and in there is an exe file called Phantom 2 Vision Plus Flash Tool.exe. We're going to run that file. It has been checked and is 100% virus free. However, if you do have any issues with the antivirus, I would suggest you temporarily turn it off if you're happy to. Once you run the install file, just click on next, click on I agree, click on next, click on install. Once it's done, click finish. Close out WinRAR and your Windows Explorer. You'll now find that there's a shortcut to the program here called the Phantom 2 Vision Plus Flash Tool, and we'll be using that to flash the quad with. So the first thing we're going to need to do, of course, is to actually remove the Wi-Fi module from the quad. It's quite a simple process. You will need a Phillips screwdriver and your 2mm hex, and what we'll do is I'll just show you where the screws are. On the end of each arm is this little tiny Phillips screwdriver, and there is 1, 2, 3 screws on each arm to remove. Once they're all done, we'll just need to simply cut the tape on the arms, which is what the razor blade is for. So let's make a start. First we're going to take out the small Phillips screws. And what I normally do is I take the lens cap off the item I'm repairing and I use that for putting the screws in, keep them somewhere safe. Once all the screws are out, we just need to simply cut these tapes on the arms here. And for that we're going to need a razor blade. What I like to do is if I just prise it up gently from here, like this, you see it forms a bit of a gap and I can just follow the line through, nice and gently like that. That side's done. Same on this side here, just pull it apart so it forms a bit of a groove and you can just slide your razor blade through. Once that's done, it's the same for the inside. You just gently pull across and just follow the razor blade through nice and gently, otherwise you end up slicing up through the sticker sometimes and that will obviously make it look a little bit of a mess. and then last one, and that's done. Okay, now before you open it, there's a cable here, the GPS cable that comes from the GPS module. If I just prise it up gently, you'll see here, if I can just get it, it's this plug here. And you see it plugs into the lid up there, and that's just popped itself out. A lot of people forget to put that back in when they put the lid back on, and then they email me saying I've got nothing but flashing red lights. And that there is the cable that comes unplugged, which sits in this little socket here. We don't need the lid for now, so we can put that out the way. We won't be needing that until we finally do the complete finish. Okay, so inside the quad, here we have the Wi-Fi module itself, and there's a little tiny screw there, and there are 2 aerials, there's a power plug there, there's a cable there, and there is one round the back here. So we need to take those out and then unscrew the module and then remove the module. Now, a word of warning, this module is stuck down with a very strong sticky pad. You're going to need something plastic and strong to go underneath just to flick it up. So first thing to do is take this screw out. Put that somewhere safe, i.e. with all the other screws. We're going to unplug the first aerial cable. They basically just pull forward and off, so get a nice tight grip and just pull. The first one here has a little clip underneath. You need to just press it with your thumb and it should just pull out, like so. This one has the little clip on the top here, so you just press that down with your fingernail and pull it out. Now at this point, don't try to take the rear cable out because this is still stuck down. So what I need to do is just get something flat and strong. I normally just use my screwdriver. And if you lift with your thumb, at the same time, just gently prise, you'll hear it start to crack. That's fine, that's just the adhesive. And then eventually, if you give a little bit of a wiggle, you'll find it pops off. Try to be gentle, as you can end up deforming the actual Wi-Fi module itself. Once that's done, you now got access to the cable at the back, and again, it has a clip at the bottom end. You just need to simply flick the clip down, and the module then becomes released from the motherboard. Once we've got the module out, of course, we no longer need the quad itself, so we can put that out of the way while we work on the Wi-Fi module. Okay, we've got the module out, we now need to take the module apart. So the first thing we want to do is to cut this gold tape around the outside. I normally do repress the gold tape with some that I've got, however it's entirely up to yourself whether you choose to redo it or not. Just simply slice around the tape like this. You need to make sure you get all the tape cut, like that, and then like that. That's now cut all the way around. If you're not sure, just run your razor blade back to make sure. Once you've got that tape cut, we now need to remove the 4 screws on the top. I'm going to put this over here because the light is catching the module. Okay, that's the 4 screws out. Once they're out, you should find that the unit will just separate like this into 2 halves. Just be gentle, because this board inside is fixed to the board with a little tiny board here, so you just want to just gently lift and slide the cover off so you can see the cover slides off. Once you've done that, if you just give it a little bit of a wiggle and take it off. There's the connector there, and that's the connector there. Too much force, you could end up damaging that connector or that connector. Now you'll notice, if I can get this into focus, there are 4 what they call post screws, 1, 2, 3, 4. For those, you will need a certain tool. If I can get this to focus again, it is this one. There you can see it's like a cross head screw, but it's not. It's literally like a cross. And then that takes the post screws out. It does help if you've got a power screwdriver. If you've not got one of these particular screwdriver bits, you can just use a flat blade and just work it around until it comes loose. Which is what I was doing for the first couple of years of doing these, until I managed to find a bit that went in there. This screwdriver I'm using was one that my son bought me, and it actually came with the actual correct bit. Take the last one out. When you take the last post screw out, the bottom cover here will come away. You just put that out the way somewhere. Once that's done, this board will be held down, usually with a little rubber pad, which I'll show you. If not, just gently just leave it up. Don't use too much pressure, and then it will just come out of the case like this, and you will find there's a little rubber pad. Some don't have this, some just have thermal paste on it, others will have this little pad. We don't need to remove that pad, even though we're going to be working on the board. That pad's in the perfect position. So this is the board up close, and we're going to be working with these two pins here. They're your boot select. We're going to be working with this pin on the end, that's your 5V, and this will be your TX, RX and ground pins here. Those are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pins we're going to be working on. So let's take a look at the actual software itself. So first of all, I'm going to just launch the tool you downloaded earlier on, and you'll notice it has the Click Meter Flash, which we're not going to use yet, Repair Video Guide, which will be the previous old one. That will be updated with this video guide, an Oxstubs guide. If we click on that, that will open up a web page. And Oxstub was the chap who actually wrote the fix, along with the others mentioned in the opening trailer. We're going to go down, and it's going to show us a connection diagram here. Okay, so this is the USB to TTL adapter I mentioned earlier, and it tells you that the RX pin here is connected to the TX. The TX is connected to the RX. Now this is the bit I need to make plain. This confused a lot of people in the earlier video. So on the board itself, the TX pad is here, okay, on the board. But you are going to connect that to the RX pad, okay? Same in reverse. The RX pad is the middle one, and you're going to connect that to the TX on the TTL adapter. The reason for that is quite simple. The board speaks, and the Wi-Fi board listens. If you put TX to TX and RX to RX, you're not going to get that communication. So it's very, very important you understand that the RX on your TTL adapter goes to the TX socket on the Wi-Fi module, and of course in reverse the TX goes to the RX socket on the Wi-Fi board there. Okay, this will be in the on the tool, so if you're not quite sure, you can just open this web page up while you're doing the repair and just double check your wiring. Ground will be the first pin on these three here. You need to apply 5V to the first pin here. Do not use 12V, or else you might damage the board. And the other two here are the boot select, so you need to short them together with a short wire. And I will show you that when I put the cables onto the board. So we're now ready to wire up the board to the USB TTL adapter. Now I have a purpose-built rig here for holding the boards with, as I found it difficult to try and bounce on something originally. These are available from eBay for about £15. Wires are all there ready, and I have my jumper cable here for the boot select, and we're going to just put some solder on these pads. These pads are very small and very delicate, so do not hold the soldering iron on too long, because there's a chance that you could damage the actual board itself. So just bear with me while I solder the pads up. Okay, so as you can now see, I've applied solder. If I can get that to focus, there we go. You can see the pads are 2 pads here, 1 here, and the 3 over here. Okay, so I've now connected up all my wires to my TTL to USB adapter. And now we need to use some software to make sure that this is ready to take the reprogramming. My choice of software to check whether this is ready for programming is a program called Putty, and you can download that from the website itself. I'll put a link to it below as well. You just need to run putty.exe, and in here it says specify the destination you want to connect to. Well, we're going to be choosing serial, which is the N1 here. We're going to be choosing the COM port that we know we have, and we're going to be putting the speed in. Okay, now this is the bit that people sort of struggle with. So the easiest way to find this out, first of all, if we just click on cancel, and we just close Putty out for a second. If you are to plug in your TTL adapter into your computer now, like this, you will hear it make a noise. Okay, now at this point, if you go back to the tool and double click it, and if you click on the Click Meter Flash button, it'll say, do you know the COM port you are using, yes or no? So let's pretend that you don't know. If you click on no, press the N key, it says, I will now open Device Manager. Please look in the port section and make a note of the port number used by the TTL adapter. Press any key. So this will now open up Device Manager. And we're going to go down so we see here where it says ports, COM and LPT. If we just drop the list down, you will see I'm now listed as a USB serial port COM3. If you have a USB port but it has a yellow exclamation mark next to it, then you haven't installed the drivers for your USB to TTL adapter. Please go away and Google how to install the drivers, as it's quite simple. Once you know that information, we're just going to close Device Manager out, and we're just going to close out the tool for a moment. What we're going to do is we're going to launch Putty again. We're going to go back to serial, And we're going to set this to COM3. In my case, you may be COM1, COM2, etc. Put the COM port that you just saw in Device Manager. And we're going to change the speed as well. We're going to delete 9600 and we're going to type in 115200. That's very, very important. And if you just click in Saved Sessions and just type in P2V Flash and then click on Save, PuTTY is now ready. Okay. Now at this point your board is already plugged in, so what we need to do, we need to just click on P2V Flash and we're going to click on the word Open. You'll now see that PuTTY has launched and you can see the message boot me, boot me, boot me repeating in PuTTY. This means that the board is now at a state where it's ready to accept being programmed. Close out PuTTY. If you don't close out PuTTY, the tool won't work. Or you want to close this session, click OK. So now we are ready to flash the board with the software. So once again, we're going to launch the tool, the DJI Phantom 2 Vision Plus Flash tool. We're going to click on the Click Me to Flash button, and it will say, before starting, do you know the COM port you are using? You know what COM port because you just checked it to set up PuTTY. If, however, you've forgotten, then click No, and it will launch Device Manager as previously. As we know, we're going to type Yes, and it will say, you will be asked for the COM port that is used. Please ensure you know this before continuing. This is an automated process. Please do not touch the keyboard at any time unless asked for the COM port number. It should take about a minute at most. Press any key to continue. Okay, it says now flashing with Vision Plus files. Use Device Manager to save in COM port. Enter the COM port used for flashing. We know we are using COM port 3, so I'm going to type 3 and I'm going to press Enter. Okay, so at this point the software is running through and it's now showing boot me. Again, please don't touch the keyboard or mouse or anything, just let it run through. And in a few seconds time it will then ask you again for your COM port. So we're going to press number 3 again and press Enter. It's now sending down the main part of the program. This is the part that always makes me worry because at this point it can either go all right or it can go all wrong. This is going all right, so if you've got this far and you're seeing this, then everything is working fine. If, however, you start to get messages such as NAND block bad or similar messages in the DOS box, then unfortunately your NAND chip is beyond repair, and trust me, there's nothing you can do with it other than replace the entire Wi-Fi module. This is now at 86, 87, 90, nearly completed, and it goes through and it finishes and it says operation completed successfully. So that's it, that's how you flash it through. Okay, we're going to close that box out, and what we're going to do now, we're just going to check the output, so we're going to need to close that program out. So the first thing we're going to need to do is just unplug the board, and we're going to need to remove the jump wire between the boot and the 3.3 up here. You can either remove it completely or just remove one, it doesn't matter really. Once that's done, what we're going to do is plug the board back in. Going to switch back now. We're going to reopen PuTTY. Once PuTTY opens, if you just click on the P2V Flash and click on Open, you'll now see that the PuTTY is outputting. And what you're seeing here is the actual software loading up and running through. And what we're waiting to see is this part at the bottom here, where it starts to loop around from encode demo started. What it's doing, basically, it's looking for the top board, which obviously isn't connected at the moment. That says to me that the board is actually now fully working. However, please be aware that even though sometimes it shows a good output, there are certain boards that just don't work and still present a black screen of death. If you have a board that just presents a black screen of death, then I'm very sorry. As I said earlier, it's just one of those things and they can't be repaired. So we've got this far, we just need to unplug the board and then obviously remove the wires from the module itself. And we'll just do that now. Be very gentle, as I said, don't overheat the pads. You don't want to damage the pads in case you ever have to come back and reflash them. If you don't power up the Wi-Fi module on at least a monthly basis, you may find yourself having to come back and redo the entire procedure all over again. However, you've got the solder on, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem apart from the pain in the bum stripping things down. Now the repair's been done, we just need to simply reassemble it and test it. I'll just put my clamp out the way. There we go. Now, I don't always do a full reassembly. What I'll do is I will just put it together loosely and I will plug it into the quad and then I shall test it in the quad. To test it, of course, I'm going to need the range extender that came with the unit. Whenever anyone sends a module in for repair, I always ask for the range extender and the Wi-Fi module. I'm going to bring down my test rig. This is the one I use for doing testing on. As you can see, it's basically a Phantom 2 Vision Plus, but there are no arms on it. I'm going to just plug that in, and I'm just going to loosely connect this up. Be careful, because you end up with thermal paste all over your fingers, which is a bit horrible. Okay, just going to plug that in there, and I'm just going to plug in the power and the aerials. Just going to grab the base of the unit. I'm going to just pop that underneath there, so there's no chance of it shorting out. And then I'm going to need my iPad, which I use for doing testing. Currently, iOS 13 and 14 don't work with the DJI app, so unfortunately you will need an iOS device that's on 12 or lower. It's going to power on the quad itself. Wait for the camera to start up. There we go, my camera started up. Unlock my iPad. And I'm just going to close out the app I used previously. There we go. I'm going to go into settings. Go down to Wi-Fi. I'm just going to just wait for the Phantom Wi-Fi to appear. Phantom Wi-Fi has appeared. I'm going to just tap on that, let it connect up. Once it's connected, I'm going to launch the DJI Vision app. Tap on camera. And there we go, the module is working. As you can see, my hand in front of the camera there, moving back and forth. The lens cap is on, so it is obviously a little bit blurry. Okay, so that's it. This unit has now been tested and is fully working. It's now time to reassemble. So reassembly, it's basically just a reversal of actually taking it all apart. Take your bottom shell with the little yellow sticker there, might not have one. Take your board and you want to pop it in. This little white part sits in the little recess there. When you put it in, because it's got a sticky pad, you need to make sure the 4 holes for the screws line up over these 4 holes. So just pop it in and then just press it down, as you'll find that's now stuck in there with the rubber pad. Take your back plate and orientate it so that the little white plug is facing up. Back plate goes in the holes there. I need to make sure that this screw hole here is sat next to that one. Sometimes people put them the wrong way around, they're that way, and it doesn't quite work the way it should do. Okay, all it needs to do now, of course, is put the post screws in. This is extremely boring, so I'll fast forward. Okay, post screws are in. I'm going to put the lid on. First of all, put the top board on, and that has the little socket here, goes on this piece here. Just gently push it and it should click like so. I don't know if you heard that or not. In regards to the thermal paste, people ask me a lot about the thermal paste. If you live in a country that has extremely high temperatures, it's always advisable to put some more thermal paste on. Here in the UK, we don't have that particular issue. We never get anywhere near sort of tropical temperatures, so to speak. To put the lid back on, orientate it upwards and drop the top cover over, and then just let it sit down, and then put your 4 screws back in. Again, boring part, so I'll just fast forward. So that's the 4 screws in. The last thing we need to do is just put some tape around the outside. I have a roll of this, which has lasted me a long time. If it's just a one-off, then you don't need to bother with this if you don't want to. There's no point buying an entire roll just to get a short piece off to go around here. So just bear with me while I measure out. There we go. Put that out the way. Rip that piece off. And then obviously, because we've covered over the 2 holes there, I just use a razor blade just to gently cut through. And then just pull out a little bit there. Sometimes it comes out easy, other times you have to force it out. Same with that one. And then what I do then is I have a little bit of a signature to know that this is one of the modules I've repaired. I take a little piece that's left over and I then just basically put it around here like this, That way, if I come across a module in a quad and I can see this here, then I know that I've repaired it and it's my work. So again, always remember that once you've done this procedure, it's very, very important that you power up the quad at least monthly. If you don't, you'll find yourself coming back after a while and having to take it all apart and do the flash again. Otherwise, that's it. That's how you take a non-functioning Wi-Fi module, use the new software to flash it up and put it all back together again. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please do give me a thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber and you just watch this, then please do hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing. I don't have a regular upload schedule, so do hit the bell notification and to be notified when I upload a video. And if you do like your Phantom 2, I have a playlist which I'll put a link to down below of other Phantom 2 related videos which you might find of interest. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, and as always, fly safely.